Well, hello and welcome to another Faith, Philosophy and Life with me, Mr. Shelton. It's great to see you, and I do hope that you're doing well and things are going fine for you. We're doing a unit called Sin and Forgiveness, and we're on our second lesson of the death penalty or capital punishment. So if you've not seen the first one, I suggest you skip back and re-watch that before you watch this. So today we are thinking about arguments and Catholic arguments for and against the death penalty, and thinking about some of the things that come from there. To start off with them, behind me is some quotes which we looked at last time. We put them into a for and against table. I'd like you to have a look at those and just to see if you can remind yourself any of those that you don't get, any of those that you do get. Look, I've even put some Bible quotes on there as well above my head. So have a look at those and just make sure that you know which ones are for and which ones are against the death penalty. Now's the time to go and grab your pen and paper, because here's our classic cheesy intro sequence. So, our title today is What are Christian views about the death penalty? What are Christian views about the death penalty? Our learning objective is to explore Christian attitudes towards the death penalty, and as always, please pause me as I go. It's going to be good if you know what the death penalty is and why it's used. I think we kind of covered that last time. Great if we give arguments for and against it, and we're going to develop that this time. And even better if you can justify your own opinion. So we've got some more scenarios as well today. We've got a media clip, we've got the church catechism, and then we've got some case studies as well. So let's just start with the church catechism actually. So, although the Catholic Church would prefer it not to be used, it is stated in the Catechism of the Catholic Church that it should be used as a method of punishment. Now, there was a encyclical published last week by fairly recently, should I say, by the Pope, called, I'm going to say Tutti Frutti, but it wasn't called Tutti Frutti, it was something similar. You know what I mean if you Google it. In that, it talks about the idea that Pope Francis is saying he's trying to move away from the death penalty because he thinks it's barbaric. He doesn't feel it's good for life. Evangelium Vitae, published previously as well, also indicated that the death penalty should not be used. But the Church Catechism still states that it can be acceptable in extreme circumstances. So how did the Catholic Church reach this conclusion? Well, please make some notes as we go. That's what I'm going to ask you for this part. So the Old Testament, there are 36 capital offences in the first 5 books of the Bible. The New Testament, Jesus doesn't really challenge the use of capital punishment. In fact, St. Paul sort of even condones it. And then you've got the Fathers and the Doctors of the Church says that clergy should neither pass judgments or lead executions. There should be other punishments. So there's a little bit of a debate going on here. Anyway, make a note of anything you need to, because I'm moving on. In times past, when death was viewed as more of a gateway to a richer life, the death penalty was seen as a criminal, as a way to pay the price for his crimes so that they could enter eternal life. But today in the West, maybe we're less confident of a belief in the afterlife, and the death penalty might just be seen as a way of annihilating someone or getting rid of the problem. So what does the Catholic Church actually think about capital punishment? Okay, I'm not going to read all this out with you. I would like you to have a read of this and make some notes about that. So pause me now and get some notes written down. So what we're now going to do is we're going to look at some classic case studies. I'm going to go through those fairly quick, but what I'd like you to do for each of them is to explain at the end of them how your thinking has changed. Do you think this case deserved the death penalty or not, and why? So the first one then. This person was convicted of murdering a 2-year-old in Ohio. The conviction was AD 18 at the time of the crime. Do you think they deserve to die? Yes or no? Okay, here's a bit more information. 10 years ago, he came within 1 hour of his execution. His head was shaved in preparation for the electric chair. He said his final farewell to his mother, and there was a last-minute reprieve. He's still alive. Do you think that that person deserved to die? Still? Okay, here's another bit of information for it. The convicted man is British, even though he's in Ohio at the moment. Does it make a difference? Because in Britain we don't have the death penalty. So should he be entitled to have the death penalty in another country? At trial, twice he rejected a plea bargain where someone had said, if you do this and take this, then we won't give the death penalty to you. If he'd accepted it, he wouldn't have had the death penalty, or wouldn't be in for having the death penalty. He would have been free to have left prison. He's been in prison longer through rejecting the death penalty plea, or the freedom plea, should I say. Do you think he still deserves to die? And finally then, in 2005, Kenneth Ritchie had his sentence overturned. Original witness statements used to retract him, to convict him, had been retracted. And it's fairly clear to say that he didn't deserve to die because he hadn't committed the crime. But I'd like you in your book to say, has your opinion changed and why? We're going to move on to case 2 in a moment. Case 2 then, 1955, an unarmed man was shot twice at close range. He collapsed due to his injuries. His attacker stood over him and used 4 remaining bullets in the gun to kill the injured man. Is that worthy of the death penalty? Next bit of information. There were witnesses of the crime. The killer was immediately arrested at the scene and he still held the smoking gun. It was dead obvious he was the person who did it. The defendant in the court claimed, when I shot him, I wanted to kill him. Is that still evidence to support the death penalty? The murderer in this case was female. Does it make a difference that it was a female who was the killer? Shortly before she killed him, she'd suffered a miscarriage at the hands of the man that she'd shot. He'd badly assaulted her, punched her hard in the stomach, and caused the loss of a baby. Do you think she still deserves the death penalty? And here's our final bit of information. In 1955, just 3 weeks and 2 days after being convicted of murder, Ruth Ellis became the last woman to be judicially hung in the UK. So she was killed, and it was in the UK. Had it been 3 weeks and 3 days later, she would not have been killed, because the death penalty would have been abolished. Does she still deserve to die? Make a note in your book about why your opinion may have changed, if it has, and why it has. And we're going to move on to case 3. Case 3 then. In 1953, 2 people took part in an armed robbery. 1 police officer was murdered. The law at the time said that as both men were taking part in the robbery, they were both guilty of murder. Okay, so one was convicted at the age of 16 and one was convicted at age 19. Which of these do you think, for killing a member of the police force, deserve to die? Maybe both of them, maybe just one of them. And why are you making that decision? One of them was deemed to be too young to hang, and one of them was deemed old enough to hang. So there's a difference on age. Is that acceptable? 16-year-old Christopher Craig was armed, and he was the one who shot the police officer. The 19-year-old did not shoot the police officer. Do you think that Christopher Craig should have been committed for capital punishment of the death penalty? "19-year-old Derek Bentley was armed with a knife that he did not use. Bentley had already been detained by the police before Chris Craig shot the PC, the police constable. Do you think Bentley deserved to die? He wasn't involved at the time. Bentley, however, did shout a phrase. 'Let him have it, Chris.' Let him have it, Chris. I wonder what you think that instruction meant. Let him have it, Chris. The defence meant that he said that he meant let him have the gun, Chris. Give the gun to the police officer. But the prosecution suggested kill him, Chris, was what was actually meant by let him have it, Chris. Let him have the bullet. Do we still think that Bentley deserved to die? Both Bentley and Craig were found guilty. Craig, who shot and killed a police officer during the armed robbery, served 10 years in prison. I believe he's still alive. Whereas Bentley was deemed to have acted with common purpose alongside Craig, who was old enough to hang, and he was in fact killed by a hangman, Albert Peripoint. Did Bentley deserve to die? But here's the twist in the tale. Derek Bentley had a mental age of 11. Did he deserve to die? So, in 1998, Derek Bentley received a posthumous judicial pardon. In other words, it was admitted they didn't get it right. His conviction was quashed. The inscription on his grave reads, Derek Bentley, a victim of British justice. In other words, we got it wrong. Did he deserve to die? So what we've done today is we've thought about what the death penalty is and why it's used. We've thought about arguments we could give for and against the death penalty, and even better, if we can justify your own reasons for it. So, this is the question. Explain how a Catholic would view different approaches to the death penalty. We always say the word some is absolutely important. If I said pupils in year 11 wear glasses, that's not true. If I said some pupils in year 11 wear glasses, that is true. So we need to look at the word some. That's really important. So some Catholics would agree with the death penalty because you need point evidence explanation, so you need to be using some quotes that we looked at the start. And then why might some Catholics disagree with it? Again, really important that you're aware of that. So 8 marks, 8 minutes is another C question. Please photograph everything, send it through to your teachers, because as always we would like to see what you've done. Thank you very much for your time. Take care of yourself, stay safe, wash your hands, God bless you. I'll see you soon.